Family, if you're watching this, it's because I really value your friendship and because you have no doubt patiently and maybe even enthusiastically listened to me talk about my favorite country in the world, South Africa. So I am really excited to announce to you that I'm going to be returning to South Africa this summer for 6 weeks to intern with Hope Prison Ministry. And I decided to make a video instead of writing because I really wanted to give you a chance to hear from my own mouth why I'm excited to go and about what I think God is doing there and is going to do through us while we're there. So, like I said, you've almost certainly heard me ramble at some length about South Africa. If you've known me for more than 24 hours, I talk about it a lot. It's really an incredible country, but facing a lot of unique challenges. When I was there the first time in 2009, which is unbelievably 6 years ago, I spent 5 to 6 days a week for 3 months in a township called Masiphumelele, and I can confidently say that this is where I truly fell in love with God. There's this depth and richness to his character and to his heart that I had never really experienced before, that I hadn't seen kind of in the average American church setting, simply because who God is and what he is doing is so much bigger than that little slice that I was experiencing on Sunday morning. I was completely captivated by the God that I saw at work there. And I was also really deeply impacted by the poverty that I saw. About 20% of South Africans live in severe poverty and 45% live in moderate poverty. So if you're doing the math with me, that's 65% of the population of an entire country living in poverty. Poverty and crime are inextricably linked. If you're poor in South Africa, chances are pretty high that you come from a single-parent family, whether due to HIV, or a lot of other factors as well. Chances are that you didn't have proper nutrition growing up, which impedes physical and cognitive development. You may also have been the victim of a violent and or sexual assault. Chances are that you didn't have access to the kind of education that would actually prepare you for a job with a stable and livable income. So out of this environment, people often turn to crime, particularly gangs and drugs, for steady income, to find a sense of belonging and purpose and identity, for security, or simply because they have nothing better to do. And also any combination of these reasons, really. A couple years ago, I watched a documentary on the South African prison system, and I was really struck by how desperate these prisoners are for Jesus, even if they can't put a name to their desperation. And I know this is true of all people. I really believe that everyone is hungry for God in some way, even if they can't put a name to it. But I saw this in these prisoner stories in a visible and it's just even almost palpable. And I think that prisoners tend to embody the consequences of systemic injustice, which isn't to say that they're not responsible for their actions, for the crimes that brought them to prison, but they're definitely a product of their environment. And yeah, and I really believe that a holistic gospel is one that addresses all of the systemic issues. I believe that a holistic gospel is one of total transformation of the world. And I believe that I, as a Christian and as a member of the church, that I'm called not only to preach that Jesus has the power to save souls, but also that His Spirit is alive and working in us and through us to reconcile all of creation to God. I think that we're called and honored, honestly, not just to reach into the margins of society and to pull people out, but carefully and strategically and with tremendous wisdom and discernment, and most of all by the power of the Holy Spirit, we are called to actually change the margins themselves. Which is why I'm so excited to be working with Hope Prison Ministry. The main thrust of what they do is based on restorative justice. If you're unfamiliar with that term or only have a vague definition of what it is, here's a really quick explanation. Restorative justice is based on the reality that crime is simply not a matter of an individual committing offense against another individual. Crime is actually a breach of relationship. The criminal breaches a relationship between himself or herself and the victim, between the criminal and the victim's family, between himself or herself and their own family, and the entire community as well. Justice isn't just served when criminals are punished, but it's served when they actually are able to make restitution for their crime and are able to start mending the severed relationships. So Hope Prison Ministry offers restorative justice training programs, which I will actually be going through when I get there as part of my orientation. Basically, the restorative justice training program teaches us how to help prisoners go through the process of restorative justice. Lots of police officers actually and correctional officers as well go through the training, which is really cool that they want to be involved in that. And once my friends and I have gone through that, my friends that I'm going with here from the seminary, we'll be able to facilitate these training programs, and that's going to be part of our job while we're there. We'll also be leading Bible studies with inmates on a weekly basis in a variety of different prison settings, maximum and minimum security, juvenile, men and women, just kind of a broad spectrum. We will also be working with men and women who are going through the restorative justice process in pre-release. So during this process, victims get to share their stories. Inmates are able to hear how their crimes have really affected people. And at the end of the process, the inmates' families are invited to participate in this special reconciliation ceremony where the families are able to share their stories, and the inmates have an opportunity to publicly apologize for their actions. Inmates can also ask for mediation with a family member and even the victims, depending on how the family and the victim feel about that, if they want to participate or not. My team spoke with the man who's going to be supervising us a couple days ago, and he was really clear that we're not just there to observe, we're there to be trained and to actually be put to work. We're going to be hitting the ground running, boots on the ground, and so with all of that said, we really do want you to be praying for us if you feel so led during this process. It's going to be an intense 6 weeks, and most of us are going to be coming out of this semester being full, and then several of us are taking classes over the summer as well. So please pray for our emotional and spiritual health going into it, and that we really would love each other well, and most of all that we would draw our strength from the Lord and rely on Him. If you would like to learn more about Hope Prison Ministry, I included a link in the description of this video. There's also a link to an article I found about the South African prison system. It's pretty short and really insightful. And finally, there's a link for my fundraising page if you feel led to support me financially. Any amount helps, and I would really appreciate it. If you would like a physical support letter, I'm happy to send that to you. Just message me with your address, and I will get that out to you, as well as a photo of me and my 3 friends that I'm going with. Their names are Esther, Daniel, and Jisun. And finally, I will be continuing to post really much shorter than this video, but updates about how my fundraising is going, and I have some fun things planned for when I reach certain fundraising thresholds, so please stay tuned. And thank you so much for watching and for all of your love and support, and I love you guys.